Well, what do we have here? Well, you can see it is a Volkswagen Beetle. Yes, one of those German cars that normally I don't really want to drive. But is this one any different? Is it? For a kick-off, this car is mildly modified. To start with, these things here, I think this car looks really sleepy. It looks like a sleepy dog in front of a fire. The kind of sleepy dog that's so sleepy in front of the fire, it just lies there burning itself because it can't think of what to do. The old Beetle, I thought, was reminiscent of a Beetle. And obviously they did very well with that car. It sold millions of them, didn't it? And then one day they stopped making it because it was just too old. And they thought, why don't we make another one? Everybody else is making cars that we used to have. Why don't we make another Beetle? And that's what they did. The question is, does it look like a Beetle? Well, obviously it has many of the characteristics of the original Beetle, like these wings that appear to be strapped on the body after the car had already been built, which of course is a throwback to a time when cars were built with bits put on like that. You know, like how they used to have a boot, they stick a boot on top of a car, and that's where you store things. And then of course after a while they started to integrate these things like they did with wings. This of course looks like it's not integrated, but they built a car and then thought, we need some wings on that actually. So old by design rather than because it's old. It is quite old now. These are going back nearly 23 years. What about this here though? It's like someone's left a tent on the back. Oh, they folded it up very nicely and everything, but it does just look like they didn't have anywhere to put it. So, well, we'll just stick it there. But again, that's more about having it look like the past. We don't want a roof, but we want it sometimes not to get wet inside. Oh, let's have some vinyl folding thing. Where can it go? We'll just put it there. And that's what they did with this as well. That is an electrically operated roof, but they didn't want to make it look too neat. That's a Transit. Right, that is an electrically operated roof, but they didn't want to make it look too neat. Clearly, that's design for you. That's fashion. But going back to my original question, does this car look like a Beetle? And the answer is no. I think it looks like a slug. Yeah, I know. That sounds a bit insulting, and I'm sorry for saying that. But I've always thought exactly that. I thought it just looks like one of those horrible slimy little things that you find in the garden that you wish weren't there in the first place. The rear lamps are round, they look like dinner plates. The plate is private. That didn't come standard with the car. The tailpipes didn't come standard with the car. The wheels are clearly not original fit wheels, are they? They're aftermarket. And these arch liners look fluffy. That's interesting. Fluffy arch liners. So the dirt has somewhere nice to go. Let's do the door shut test sound. Because obviously with having no roof, it means it's a bit more difficult to get just right. Well, with no roof on there and the windows up, two of them, they do create a bit more of a flabby sound. But that is, it's perfectly forgivable really, isn't it? It's what you'd expect. Inside this car is full of little personal touches. When I say personal touches, I mean stuff that did not belong here in the first place. This looks like the owner wanted to make it look like he was living in a cartoon. And I reckon he needs to get his blade out and trim some of these edges up personally. Some fluffy friends on the dashboard. Now, will those fluffy friends disappear off the dashboard when I put my foot down? When I accelerate, will the power be so great that they will not be able to stay there? That's something we can find out soon. Couple more there, so that's 3, 5, 6, and then 2 that look like they're in jail, and then another little one there. It's all very nice. There's a chap actually who asked the other day on Facebook if the Volkswagen Beetle soft top was a girly car, and the answer is yeah, it is. But it's also quite manly as well. It's manly for the kind of man that isn't afraid to be a girl, whatever that is. I quite like it. Let's talk about build quality. it all feels okay. It has some of the usual creaks you'd expect of an old car. You can't tell how good this bit is with all the stickers on there. The dash feels quite firm. Steering wheel feels quite good. That feels a bit loose. That I was expecting to be metal, but it's not. It's plastic. But the thing that really strikes me is just how far away I am from the window there. I can't reach the window. If I put my phone on the cradle there to do things, I can't reach it. I'd have to lean forward, right forward, to get anywhere near it. Up there we have the time. But because the roof's off, you can't really tell what the time is. Yeah, there are things I like about this car. Another thing I like, the amount of headroom. That's masses of headroom, that is. I'm really not going to get stuck in here. Cars like this are not designed for adults to climb into the back. But I'm going to try anyway. There. Now the seat is very much bolt upright, which is a bit odd. But I can sit in it. I've got room, haven't I? Plenty of room. Obviously there's no point in being in the back unless you're going to be driven anywhere. So will I still have enough room when I pull the seat back? Ugh. No, definitely not actually. The other thing to consider, if you're going to be a passenger in the back of a Beetle, then well, the driver's head is there. And look how close I am to it. I could literally get my arm around his neck and pull it off. But, you know, I won't be doing that because I'm not going to be a passenger. But that is, what, 8 inches away from my chin. So then I'm about 8 or 9 inches away from the back of somebody's head. That's a bit like travelling on a tube. Another thing I'd like to be aware of is this here. Climbing in and out of that, you could catch something on that and do yourself an injury. Want to see something quite amusing? Yep, look at the size of that boot. Yeah, that is not a big boot at all. It's not a tiny boot, but the opening, gosh, that is really something else. I was quite surprised. That was much smaller than I was expecting, because I was expecting it to be kind of the shape of this somehow. It's quite an interesting, intricate design though. That's quite nice. Quite a pleasing bit of design on that boot actually. Here we see the car with the roof indeed up. And I think it looks like a mask. Yeah, I don't know why, but it reminds me of like a big leather mask. Strange kind of mask. A bit like one of those leather masks those interesting people wear on their faces. Don't know what it's called, but that's what I see when I'm looking at this. I'll tell you what else I see. Hub nuts. He gets everywhere, doesn't he? And furious driving. He gets almost the same places. And then the chap's own sticker there for his own YouTube account. The Lost 10mm DIY Mechanics. I'll have a look at that afterwards. Underneath the sleepy face we find the V5 2.3 litre Volkswagen engine. How many horses does it have? That's rather difficult to know actually, because this engine was put in by the owner of the car because the original 1.8 went a bit wrong. And this one, it could be 150, could be 170. I don't know. It's one or the other. It's very tidy looking under there, I must say that. The only trouble with a very tidy looking engine, of course, is it means that it's more difficult to work on. So, what about this car with the roof up? Well, because the roof line is black, you can't see how far it is off my head, but look, that is still, you know, had loads of headroom with no roof, but with the roof on, it still has, what's that, about 6 inches worth of headroom. That's more than enough. That's loads, there's a wasp inside here. That you can get out. Go on, you're not allowed in here. Go on, there you go. Now you can't drive a car like this without taking the roof down, can you? It defeats the object of it. But for somebody like me with loads and loads of scraggly hair everywhere, I need a solution. And that solution is given by and invented by Jesus himself, the cable tie. Gosh, this is slow going. What a test drive this is turning out to be. Rather throaty, tickly cough sound on the go there, which is rather interesting. Should we just see how it goes? And go. is good. The steering is good. The overall feel is actually quite good. I wasn't expecting it to be anything else really, but it's quite a happy feeling car actually. I do quite like it. I like it more than I was expecting. I was thinking, oh, this is going to be a right laugh. I'm going to pick some holes in this thing. Well, I have some holes to pick, but it's not for what you think. Oh, no. It's got the tiniest little rev counter there. It's so small I didn't even think it had one to start with. And that wouldn't have surprised me massively because this is a modified car. Yes. The engine in here is the 2.3 litre V5 model, which came from a Volkswagen Golf. And the original one was indeed something else. It's pretty quick, but it's not rapid. It's just the sound I like more than anything. It's just very, very characterful. And a Mercedes with a 5-cylinder diesel. And I really like that because it had kind of a very distinctive warble to it. It was really different. It was really punchy. And this is the same, obviously quite a bit more revvy. Yeah. So why did they make this car? And why didn't they make this car? Because they didn't. In actual fact, they never made a soft top version with this engine in it. They probably just had the diesel. And speaking of their cars, how many engines did they need? They had a 1.4, then they had a 1.6, then they had a 1.8 turbo, and then they had a 2 litre, a 2.3, a 2.5, and a 3.2. Oh, and then a diesel as well. That's quite a lot of choice, I reckon. Now, when Volkswagen decided to make the new Beetle, maybe they were trying to be like BMW and their Mini. Except, of course, I think this came first. And why would they be? They wouldn't know about it, would they? I don't believe that Volkswagen and BMW are friends. They're probably not even acquaintances. Volkswagen and Audi and Seat and everything, they're all good chums. But BMW is probably the guy that they didn't even look at when they walked down the street. That's the sound of that offer. I've just gone past the yard up the hill there. Give it a bit of full throatiness. The guy in the yard there whose car it is, he probably knows it's me and his car. And now it's time for the Housing Estate Speed Hump Challenge, a place where many of us have to endure, and you should drive carefully over speed humps, of course, and I do, especially in somebody else's car because I don't want to break it. So how is this car on speed humps? The answer is okay, like any car really, as long as it's not been lowered or it's got stupidly hard suspension. There's no reason why it should be a problem. You approach them, you see one there, and then you slow down. And then you go over it, and then you put your foot down until you get to the next one. Speed Hump Challenge is the most boring of all the challenges I have in any of my videos. It's quite simple, it's just driving very slowly and coming to the same conclusion do with any other car, but you just slow down and you don't like them. Oh, do you? Maybe some people do like speed bumps. I don't know who they are though. Out of all the Volkswagens that I have ever driven, I must say I quite like this one. And I'm a bit averse to ever admitting to liking a Volkswagen. But this one's just a bit different. It's a bit more playful. Just like that dangly thing that keeps getting in the way there. That's very, very playful, isn't it? So, what's my verdict? I like it. I like it more than I was expecting. And I'd happily drive one of these around quite a lot. Hey. Yeah. Hello. You're very interested, aren't you? Yeah.